just having a look at my book, 21 Days to Train Your Dog, and my other book I had a little look at before, Breaking Bad Habits in Dogs. And what this brings to my mind is, I wrote the first book to help people train their dogs, and some of that I'm going to impart today to you. The second book, Breaking Bad Habits, in a way is about dog behaviour, solving minor and serious dog behaviour which dogs have learned to exhibit. And in a way, if you have a puppy, a clean slate, a new dog, hopefully you won't ever have to read my book Breaking Bad Habits, because you'll do it the right way. As with bringing up children, you have your ups and downs. In a way, I suppose there's no perfect dog, and each puppy has its own challenges and moreover its own personality and character. Now I've picked Dita because I want a dog with lots and lots of drive in him, something most people in a general normal house wouldn't really want. He has to work. I want him to do agility, obedience training, some parts of police work, tracking. So I want to encourage him to be absolutely focused on me. So everything I teach him now will be slightly exaggerated to get that zest, that look. And you see this in competition dogs. For the average owner who just has a puppy, whether it's a little Cavalier King Charles or a Great Dane or a medium-sized dog like a Spaniel, they just want a dog to fit in to their house. Now today I'm going to do some practice and introduce you to basic obedience training for puppies. So what does this mean? Too many people begin training at the wrong age, and the wrong age is very much at 5 or 6 months or even a year. One would think, with all the information out there on the web and in books, that people would understand that if a dog is old enough at 6 or 8 weeks to learn the sound of the tin opener opening the food, that links with something tasty, or that when you get a squeaky toy out, as soon as you squeak it, the dog looks at you and starts to associate the sound with a big game fun. The dog is learning. It is learning to make associations. The basis of all dog training is teaching a puppy to associate a sound with an action, the action being sitting or coming or staying, with a reward. So how do we teach dogs to do what we want? Well, in a few moments you'll see me working on reward, motivational training. There are times when you can discipline a puppy, but in general, and with very few exceptions, you should really induce a puppy to do what you want by a reward. Remember, this puppy has no understanding of right or wrong, of chewing what you think it shouldn't. All it understands is in a new world, and it will use its instincts the way it inherited them, its own drives, to investigate, to look, to taste, to chew. However, when we bring a puppy into our house, whether it likes it or not, it has to learn sets of rules that have no meaning to the puppy, only to us. The word no, as well as good dog, should be one of the first words your puppy learns. A dog that learns the word no, which can be something as simple as no, said sharply. Some dogs actually take on that no command. They detect the difference in your tonology, and so they should. Most puppies, however, have no concept of the word no, so sometimes you have to put a negative reinforcement in. What I will do is I will always try to use any discipline as the last act, not as the first one. Today, when I train Dita in basic obedience, I'm not really interested whether he sits accurately or stays accurately. I'm just slowly filtering into his mind certain sounds which we call commands. So he'll learn come, sit, stay, or down. He will also learn good boy, and I always whisper it. Good trainers have a good variation in their voice tonology, and that's important. When I issue these commands, when he's in certain positions, which I'll induce him with food, but it could be a toy, it could be just your voice that induces him into the positions, because he so likes being in your company and enjoys what you're doing. And through repetition, the dog will slowly make links with the command, the sound, with the action, and then you'll begin to get a trained puppy. Puppies learn every day. For example, when I whistle, Safi, my Cairn Terrier, comes. And Dita has learned to follow her. Naturally he follows her because she's an older dog and he's bonded as a pack. So when Safi comes running down furiously towards the house when I whistle her, he follows. He now comes on the whistle without Safi because he's made that connection by following Safi to the house. That's a good example of how a puppy can learn not only from another dog, but learns to make an association with a sound. In that case, the whistle. When a puppy does anything you want, you should always reinforce it with a powerful reward. Sometimes this can be quite dramatic with excitement, but not too much excitement with certain breeds of dogs because they can overplay the issue. Dogs which are unsure, you can give lots more praise to. Dita, I give him lots of praise because already he's learned he can't jump up, he has to stay with 4 feet on the ground. And woe betide any of my friends that come into the house who start tapping their top here and encouraging him to jump up or jump up onto the couch with his front paws. Occasionally he makes the error, but now he started to make an association with the word no, so I can say no, and generally he gets off people. When you're training puppies and understanding how they learn, from their point of view, it is a very confusing world we live in. He can hear you talking all day long, maybe to your children, to your partner, on the phone, television's going on, the kitchen's busy with all the appliances being turned on and off. It's a room full of strange scents. It's not often that the owner sits down and imagines that the puppy is actually taking all this information in, and it can be a confusing world. So to help the puppy along, it's good that we start to bring our commands into unison. And what this means is that you sit down as a family together and you decide that what command you're going to use for recall. So for most people it's the word simply come. Now when you're giving commands at a distance, say for example the puppy's up the garden and you use the puppy's name, which could be in this case Dita. Dita is what gets the dog's attention. It's what brings the dog's heads, its ears round to hear. That in itself is not a command, it's an attention gatherer. So lots of people just shout come, and as they shout come, the dog turns round. Because the dog's not sat or walking round the garden anticipating you calling it. It's not thinking, oh, in a moment I'll get called. Remember, these are the first learning steps. So when you say Dita, and with a nice strong voice, so it carries, so it's Dita, nice and sharp. As the puppy turns round, I then say come. So it's a come, a sharp command. Depending on the distance, it's louder or less loud. And when the dog starts to come towards you, you give it lots of enthusiasm. A common error in dog training is that people don't give the dog the praise till it arrives in front of them. There is no motivation to come from something attractive up the top of the garden to you if you're going to be as miserable as that. As soon as Dita starts coming to me, I say, come, good boy. And then when I bring him in, I start to bring in what we call order. So I start to bring in the sit. At first, it doesn't matter whether the dog sits. Once the dog is coming consistently, each time you call it with a command, then you can start to bring in the sit, which is a secondary control. When I begin training in a moment with Dieter, who's still busy chewing on his Kong, I'm going to bring in the commands sit, down, stay, come. I might even do some heel work, it depends how long it goes on for. Keep your training lessons very brief. I would say for the average puppy between the age of 8 weeks and 20 weeks, no more than 5 or 10 minutes. You can have a break, start again in 10 more minutes. Some puppies take to training quicker than others. German Shepherds, the Border Collies, these seem to be very alert to training and can go on a little bit longer. But if you see the puppy tiring or starting to lose interest in what you're doing, that's for 2 reasons. One, you're dull and you're not making it interesting enough, and yes, there's plenty of dull trainers. Or 2, you've been going on too long. If you've been going on too long, finish on something the puppy can do, so maybe go into a simple sit, give the dog a treat, give it a stroke, and then always finish with what I call a release command. This means the dog starts to learn that when you say or make this sound, in my case I would say play or go play, in a very, very friendly way, the dog learns that that means it can go off and do what it wants in its own time. It is a release command. It signifies to the dog that's the end of the training. At first, this command means nothing, but what the puppy learns is that as soon as I issue this command, I get up and walk off and stop giving it immediate attention. So it realizes that this training session is over.